Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travefy does. Travefy gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travefy is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travefy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another what I am really excited about session here on Marketing Day. But if this happens to be your first session, my name is Rita M. Perez. I'm the host of Prep for Wave Week. You may know me from the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast. And Prep for Wave Week is here to really get you thinking out of the box on your business so that you are ready for that new wave of business that's going to happen in 2025, or at least we're really hoping that it's going to happen for you. We're giving you all the tools here, so it's up to you to implement and take action after Prep for Wave Week closes. And so Marketing Day, I am so excited because this is a really unique perspective. I've talked about hosting masterclasses or webinars for your travel business before. And Kirsten has actually won an award for doing that from Travel Age West. So welcome Kirsten Andrade from Favorite Grampy Travels, talking to us all about masterclasses and really using social media in a unique way for your travel business.
Yes, thank you, Rita, so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about our Genie Masterclass. And as you mentioned, I actually was honored to win the Best Targeted Marketing Idea from Travel Age West at their Wave Trendsetter Awards in June.
Yes, I had seen, no, because I'm always let me check out what's happening at the Travel Age West Awards. And when I had noticed it was for Genie Masterclasses, I was like, hold up, because these are the things that we talk about, but not necessarily in this avenue in terms of really being of service to sell. Yeah. So where did the masterclasses originate from? And for people who are like, I have no idea what they're talking about, Genie. So what is Genie Plus for the people who are not Disney nerds like myself? And then how did the master classes to educate kind of start off from?
Yeah, so as everyone knows, if you've visited a theme park, they have some sort of line skipping system, right? Sometimes you pay and you go in the exit line. Sometimes you pay and you come back at a certain time. And Disney obviously wanted a little bit of skin in that game. And they used to have a free fast pass system that you got anytime you had a ticket to the park. You were able to go in and pick some return times to go up and ride your favorites. And when COVID happened, they did away with all of that. Once they kind of got back with the ball rolling, all the parks opening, getting back to fuller capacities, they needed a way to bring back their line skipping system. Since they were one of the very few around the nation and around the world that didn't have a pay to play system, they decided to do that, and they brought it up with Genie Plus. Now, when they brought Genie Plus into the game, they made it really confusing. They had certain rules about who could purchase when, what you could purchase, how you became eligible to make another selection. It was nothing like the other theme park down the road where you just walk up and scan. It's a very timed system. And our assumptions on that is that Disney just has so many guests. If we had a system where they just walked up, scanned in, and stood in the express line, they're going to be standing there forever because you're going to have thousands more people. So they made it a timed system throughout the day. The confusion came in with how do I buy it? When do I buy it? It depended if you were on site or off site. It depended on when your last selection was versus when the return time for it. So we noticed that there were a lot of questions, obviously. And our agency, Favorite Grampy Travels, has a pretty big social media following. One of those is a Facebook group called Disney Friends and Family. We were getting up to 30, 40,000 people in there. And we noticed that we were getting 30 and 40 questions a day about Genie. Some days it felt like 30 and 40,000 questions. So we decided to spin off and do kind of a sister group with a Genie specific Facebook group. We wanted to put all of those questions in the same spot. And then we spent hours upon hours answering them. And for anyone in the travel industry, you know that there are a lot of things that you do that don't make you money, that you hope will make you money eventually, right? Answering questions from your neighbor, or, just sending out that quick quote for someone who's not quite serious yet. So we were devoting so much time to that group, and we were seeing so many repetitive questions that we sat down and kind of had a brainstorming session of how do we get all of this information out in the most efficient way possible. It also happened to be about April, May. And for most of us, we know all of those leads slow down over the summer. We've got lots of travelers. We've got people that are spending time with their family. The kids are off school. Their next vacation just might not be ready to be put on the books. So we were also looking at ways to increase our revenue, increase what was coming into the agency, obviously increase a little bit of my personal sales, for lack of a better term. And we had a brainstorming session and came up with the idea of a Genie Masterclass. Now, we were used to seeing all of the YouTube videos, but the thing with Disney, as everybody knows, they like to change things. So a YouTube blogger might put out a video and an hour later, Disney changes it.
Right.
So we really pushed that we were the most up to date because it was a live Zoom class where we could always give them the most up to date information. So It worked out perfectly to answer all of those questions. They could ask additional questions live. It just worked as a great way to build our business and to, again, answer those questions effectively, efficiently, because it felt like all we were doing was spending time on social media asking the same questions, answering the same questions.
I'm just geeking out here because I'm like, what a genius but simple way to solve the problem. Like, that's what business owners are in business for, to solve problems that consumers have. And so I'm like, all the questions here, I guess on a tactical route of going into this, how did you do the master classes? Were these Canvas slides? What were some of like the top level highlights? Because the program has changed. I'm like, I don't want you to give all your secrets away, but the program has also changed. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So on a high level, what was it like putting things together? Maybe what tech tools did you use for things like registrations and automations and things like that?
Absolutely. So I actually am a little bit old school with my slides. I was a PowerPoint girl. I am pushing our relaunch into the Canva world because I love Canva. Who doesn't love Canva, right? It does so much for you and it already has so many pieces in there. But we did a PowerPoint slide, which was nice because we could print it to PDF and actually send it out to the class as well if they wanted to review it. In terms of pulling in registrations, we love JotForm. We love the idea of having that where we can automate the emails to send right out afterwards. They can send some of the product out afterwards, but it also would keep our inventory for us. If you're just doing it via email or you're doing it, oh, yeah, just send me your PayPal, whatever, you can't keep track of how many students are in each class. And that was something we really wanted to keep lower end. We didn't want to overwhelm people. And we found that if we had classes above 20, 25 participants, there were so many questions that we would go over in time. And I felt like I wasn't respectful of their time. So we cut classes down. We would never go above 25 individuals unless we had one of our own travel advisors, hanging out, learning a little bit more for their clients or getting a refresh. JotForm. And then we actually use Flowdesk right now for a lot of our email newsletters. So one of the bonus perks was that if Disney did change something, they didn't have to go find it online. We are emailing the changes directly to their inbox. So it kept us front of mind. It kept them in the know for their next trip. And it really helped keep us as, again, the most up-to-date resource that was out there.
Okay, and what would you say? Oh my gosh, like so many questions. I initially was thinking, like, what would you say is the difference between somebody asking a question in the Facebook group versus them asking it on the master class? Like, what I'm thinking intimacy, but like, what do you see was like the most powerful thing about people attending those master classes?
So we know a lot of the information you get online isn't always accurate, right? So we had a lot of professionals that would hang out in the group and answer questions, but not know that things had changed. So it's a really good way to make sure that an actual travel professional is answering your question. We might come in and answer on the thread of comments of the question on the Facebook group, but we get buried or we get, 12 responses that are wrong over top of it. Facebook hides our comment. And the other part is that we can really make sure that they truly understand the answer. Because with Genie Plus, with the timing factor of it, with the which attraction should I select first, there's a lot more details to it because I can't tell somebody that's going with grandma and grandpa, pick these rides first, the same way that I would tell somebody that's taking 16-year-old thrill seekers. So we could really personalize our service and shine as to our personalized itineraries that we build as well. And that's kind of how we pulled in an extra leg of income because we were getting a la carte planning clients at that point. We were getting people planning their next visit or people that were like, oh, this time I'm taking my whole family. Next time I'm going to go, I am going to take grandma and grandpa. So could you give me a little insight of what I should select that time? And we could really personalize it.
I love that because then we're also bringing in the element of where a lead magnet is really becoming the sales converter almost. And so what would your call to action be at the end of the master classes? You've answered all these questions, giving all the information. What's the next step for them?
Yeah, so actually our last two slides focused on what we could do to help them going forward. Of course, we would always say, and I am a huge advocate of this, if you are not already working with another travel professional, we are here for all of these things. If you're working with a travel professional and you find out maybe they aren't the best fit for your next trip, we're here to help, let us know. But we would go over all of the things that we could do for them. Quick phone calls to discuss your dining reservations, a la carte planning, day-to-day itineraries, your airport transfers, your strollers. And honestly, we really worked on that overwhelm factor that a lot of us use as kind of a sales tactic of maybe you haven't thought about these 25 other things that go into your trip.
Right.
And we would highlight that our agency is a concierge travel agency. We want to take care of all of those parts. And then our last slide would be going from the castle and all of the overwhelm of Disney. Our last slide was a guy with a drink with an umbrella and a palm tree. And we would talk about all of the other destinations that we serviced. And my kicker for that was when you're done with your Disney trip and you need a vacation where you can sit on the beach with an umbrella drink, we also service all of these destinations. And I would tell them every other place within reason. I mean, I would group them together, family cruises, Caribbean, Mexico. I wouldn't go individual island, but it gave them something else to look forward to and something else to think of that they could really go enjoy a vacation after they took this kind of overwhelming trip to the theme park.
Yeah, I'm here. I just first have to give you and the team like kudos because I'm like, you guys did exactly what all the big like marketing pros teach in terms of like widening the gap. Like you solved a quick problem initially. And then at that end, you were like, there's also all these other things that you have to consider about this types of vacation that really gets people to think like, well, no, duh, I'm gonna work with them on whatever vacation it is that I need because they have all the answers. So I'm like, and thank you so much for being like generous with all the information because I know I'm like, people are probably scrambling notes right now.
Of
Um,
course.
one of the things that I have kind of labeled 2024 as the year of specificity. And I feel like that is one of the reasons that this works so well because it wasn't a Disney masterclass. It wasn't a Disney World masterclass. It was a very specific part of a Disney vacation. So I'm like thinking about like the cruise vacations or safari vacations and how other travel advisors can like use that, but like really pinpoint a specific part. Do you think because I feel like most people were funneling from that Genie Plus Facebook group, right?
Mhm.
Do you feel like it would have worked as successfully if you had thought of the masterclass, but in the main Disney Facebook group?
That's a hard question because
Mhm.
our Genie group took off so quickly and is so large at this point that it's almost hard to imagine life without it.
Uh,
Whenever Disney announced the changes for the new Lightning Lane system with the multi-pass and single pass, I didn't sleep for 2.5 days because there were so many questions. Now,
uh-huh.
on the marketing and creator end of it, I made a couple of bucks off of Facebook finally because I was answering so many questions.
Uh-huh.
But it's really hard to think about our Disney friends and family group as pushing that. Now, on the flip side of that, thinking about the specificity side that you were talking about, we actually have a couple other master classes that we've thrown around to think about that were real specific as well, including things like the Disney Disability Access Service. We have a
Yeah.
mama of a kiddo who does still qualify, And she wanted to talk about, quiet places in the park, as well as how to register for the system. Now, that hasn't come to fruition yet, and things, of course, are always changing. But we do see that there is a huge market out there for these specific classes. So things like Royal Caribbean only, or certain classes of the Royal Caribbean ship, and how to make it the best. Disney Cruise Line, of course, how to go to Europe and certain sections of Europe. So really, the catalog of these master classes is endless.
Yeah, because it makes me also think of Disney cruising and how you can get the most out of a Disney cruise if you're not bringing kids with you. I'm like that.
Absolutely.
I was like, I would go with that. I probably might be able to teach a little bit of that one
Exactly.
with my Disney adult background. So I would love to learn a little bit about some of the results, because these masterclass started when exactly? And I know they ended recently because of the changes.
Yeah, so we had a good 2-year run. We started in June of 2022, and then we stopped classes as soon as the new Lightning Lane system was kind of put forth, right before it really launched, because we didn't want to continue to give people outdated information. And because we are kind of based on the East Coast, we leaned heavily into the Walt Disney World factor of things. Now, Disneyland still kind of has the Genie Plus system. They just renamed it. So it still has its own little nuances, and it works completely separately. So that's part of kind of what's slowing down our revamp a little bit, is just making sure that we know where the divide is there. But in that 2-year period, we serviced over 900 paid students. That does not include our guests that came in as our travel agent clients that would come into class at a discounted rate. That doesn't include any of our travel agents that would come in and view the class as well. So we had a little bit over 900 students that came to our class over a 2-year period.
Okay, so people would have to pay for the master class. So this was not a free. So how, do you mind if I ask, like, how much
No
was
problem.
the entrance fee to get into the master class?
Yeah, so we started them whenever we initially launched, when we were still working out a couple of the bugs of like what order we wanted to go in, and some of the kind of main questions that we kept getting in the first few classes. We integrated them in, things about the app in itself. But we started at $20, which was really low for that time. We were at $39 whenever we capped the class off. And that's probably where our starting point will be when we start back up. Just because we know that our product is great. We know that we're giving them the live updates as they happen. They don't need to go anywhere else to find them. I don't know if I mentioned in our kind of pre-chat there during the talk that we're having here about the fact that we do email out the updates as well. So when our new class launches, that's going to be a little bit different than the updates going to their email. So we are going to invite back all of our alumni. We'll probably have a little coupon code for them, and we're going to bring them back. We're going to launch this new one, and I'm guessing we'll still be at about that $39 price point. And that's going to include a load of bonus materials, just like it did before, which include things like PDF maps, which sounds silly, but nobody can find them, it seems. It's going to include like ride priorities, daily planning sheets, the tier listing for which attractions fall under which systems. It also includes things like a daily planner of when your dining reservations are, when you'll actually be eligible to make these selections. So it really is just helpful for them to have those materials to go back through over and over again when they head back to the parks.
How often, like, was this a monthly master class? Was it bi-monthly? Or how often were you doing
Yeah. So we were a little crazy with it, and we did about one a week. We were out 3 to 4 a month. And we kind of found that to be a sweet spot, because we started out doing maybe 2 a month. We were getting overflow. We were getting so many people that said, "Oh, do you have a wait list?" At one point, I believe it was December of 23, we actually had a class sell out in record time and people asking for a wait list. We did back-to-back classes that day. We sold out 2 complete master classes within about 16 hours. So I don't know what the draw was at that point in time, if it was all the holiday vacations, but I recall we made a morning class. We literally, myself and Nikki Hendricks, who's our agency owner, would be kind of my co-host just to help with the questions in the chat and things. We went and shoveled lunch in our faces, and we came right back to Zoom, and we did another 90-minute Zoom class, and we knocked out, I mean, that would have been over 50 participants in one day at $39 a seat. So it really increased our agency income. It was great.
Okay, I I'm just like, I love that it's not even a free masterclass. It was a
I know.
paid masterclass,
Yeah.
but it was a low lift. So it
Mhm.
wasn't like a dramatic, like, yes, of course, like this is such a thorn in my side. I'm going to pay the $20 to $39. Um, I just think it's so brilliant on the other level because some of the things that I talk about on the podcast are about monetizing your business in different ways. And I love that this is a strategy that works for you, especially like in that low, almost like shoulder season for travel pros. Because when we're trying to think innovatively, and if people aren't traveling, and I know right now we're in election season, things have been a little bit slow for some people or regressing. And so, what can you do to make other sorts of income and just using the knowledge that you have that you might think is so commonplace, but other people are craving that information. So I
Yes.
think that is huge. How many would you say were kind of like new, never before used you as an agency before versus at the end of the master class or maybe like post master class turned into clients? Is there like a ratio?
Yeah, so it was neat to kind of see the development of the class come through because when we first started, it was people who knew about the system and wanted to know if we had any insider tips. And
Mhm.
then we slowly worked to including a question on our drop form about how confident are you in knowing what Genie Plus is? And we'd have 0 through 4. And it was so funny the days that we'd be like, they're all zeros today because we knew we were coming into a lot of overwhelm. We
Okay.
had guests that would come in that wouldn't even have the My Disney Experience app downloaded on their phone to be able to follow along. Which reminds me that I forgot to mention we did mirror our phone onto the Zoom platform as well. So that was
Cool.
another, when you were mentioning like jot form and how did we keep track of things with Canva or PowerPoint, things of that sort. We did have a mirroring software as well, and I can find the name for that if that would be helpful. But then by the time we got through the end of this run, we actually were asking people if they had a travel professional or not, because we were finding that a lot of people were coming to us after the class and they would not really let us know right away they were working with another agency, but somewhere through the discussion of, oh, I just have another question about this slide, or I have another question about this slide. And I would say, oh, well, if you really want to have a personalized itinerary, my services are here. I just want to confirm that you aren't working with another travel professional. And they would let us know that they were. So I'm not sure how our name was getting out there. I don't know how it was hitting all of these places where people were already booked with other professionals. And we are totally a community over competition agency.
Mhm.
So it was kind of heartbreaking to be like, please stop asking me. Like, I don't want to step on any toes.
Right.
But by the end of it, we would see that a lot more of the clientele that was coming through said that they were working with a travel professional. Now, obviously, there's no way to check that. They may just not wanted to opt into our newsletters and
Mhm.
things. But we did find that we were pushing a little more toward people having those travel professionals. Now, we also had people that would jump ship. They would finish up that trip with their travel professional and say, they weren't a good fit. I feel like you know more of what you're talking about, or I feel like I'm more at home with you because they got that face to face interaction. They really got to know us as people, which is
Mhm.
part of the sales industry, right? You need to
Right.
make those connections. So we did have a handful that may have left who they were with. It wasn't the best fit and came over. But the majority of our sales from the Genie Plus class would be those personalized itineraries, phone calls about dining, and then on their next trip, they would hire us for our full concierge services.
Okay.
It's funny because it reminds me that one of the first clients who came through hired me for itinerary planning and 2 days of VIP tours. And I was like, all right, sold, let's do it. And they've come back year
Amazing.
after year. They're now a loyal client.
That is incredible. Because I'm also thinking about, I recently joined one of the Halloween party Facebook groups because I'll be going in a couple of weeks because it's my favorite Disney event. And it's just I'm like I want to brainstorm different ideas now for different travel pros who are not necessarily Disney specialists, but um like that are Alaska specialists or that are adventure specialists or that are family park specialists. I feel like this is just so transferable to whatever it is that you do. Is there anything that you would do differently whenever you relaunch the master classes?
Yeah, so that's a great question because we actually talked about that a little bit at the Wave Awards of what was coming next, what are we going to do differently? So one of the main things we want to do is partner with our colleagues in the community. We want them to know that we aren't going to step on their toes, and we're going to have a referral code within the job form where they can put in their referral code and we'll know that that guest is off limits, for lack of a better term.
Right.
We're still going to give them the entire class information, but if they reach out afterwards, we are pushing them right back to who they are working with. The second part of that is we really want to make it a kind of mindless sell in some instances and have a recorded module option. We didn't do that with the first part because it was constantly changing and it felt like every time we went to record it and sell it as a module system, they would change something. And it was like, oh, we would have to go in and change all of this. And then we would have to update it and hurry up and pull it off. And you can't have something that's outdated on the website when you claim you're the most up to date.
Right.
But I think the system, the way that it's running right now, the changes that they would be able to make, at least what I kind of foreshadow might be made, are going to be very small. It's going to give us a broader client base because obviously we're only available for classes at certain times on certain days. And while we would vary those, you're still going to have the mom of 4 kids that she's running around after dinner and she's trying to get the kids to bed and she can only watch the first hour, but she needs to watch the next 30 minutes another time. So that will broaden our spectrum a little bit. And touching on what you just said about, specialty about adventure and Alaska and things like that, these people could be making money in their sleep with this because those classes aren't going to change information as often. So if they record it, if they put it out there and they have a system that can just email the recordings over or give them access to, a drive that has all your files for a week or 30 days, however long you want to give them access, you could be selling those master classes while you're off doing something else to make money or spending time with your family. So we're really looking at putting things like our bonus materials with our daily planning sheets, our tier listing, our priority listing out for sale as individual items, and then having the module system, having the live system for those who still want to come in and have, the live interaction and ask their personalized questions. And of course, our a la carte planning, we started that, about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, with being able to be hired just to plan out your days. And with theme parks, that's a much bigger ask than it is for, going on a cruise and which excursion should I do? It looks much different than, am I rope dropping? Where's my dining reservation? Where do I meet the characters? What do I do when it's a party day? So it looks a lot different.
Yeah. Now I know having the master class itself is kind of like what I would say a little bit more middle of the funnel strategy. So when we're thinking top of funnel, how people found the master class or found you and your agency, first question, did you use ads at all? Any Facebook, social media?
I
Wow.
have paid no marketing for this at all. We went to Facebook, we had our group, and we do a lot of sharing to help the algorithm. We do a lot of in-community commenting. I mean, you all know, four words within the first 5 minutes of that being posted, it's going to push it out. We are also really big on answering as much as we possibly can. As I mentioned, whenever they launched the new Lightning Lane multi-pass system, I didn't sleep. I was just answering questions all night. So we try to make sure that everybody's getting the interaction and feels heard and feels seen. And that keeps us front of mind for them. So whether it be in our other Facebook groups that we've got for specialties, in the Genie group itself, we are just really trying to be ever present there, which is helping build our kind of, I don't want to say they recognize us. They know that we're kind of a safe space to ask questions. We've shown our expertise, but we didn't pay for a single thing for this. We do have email marketing that will go out, and we have pushed the Genie class in there maybe 2 or 3 times over that would have just been in 2024, that first 6 months, but we found that they weren't really coming from there. So all social media.
Okay. Would you say it was more social media like Facebook page or Instagram page or the Facebook group?
Our Facebook group is where everything gets pushed.
Okay. So within the Facebook group, kind of what are some of the things that you're seeing working that kind of nurture that audience so that they're a little bit more warmed up and more apt to be like, of course, I'm going to sign up for the master class. And 2, how do you think people are finding, I'm sure at this point, because you have tens of thousands of people, it's just something that automatically gets recommended through Facebook. But like in the early days, what can you recall of like having to grow that Facebook group?
Yeah, so it's kind of shocking how quickly it grew. I double checked the number just a minute ago. We're at 282,000 people.
Wow.
We bring in about 1,000 a week at this point, and we find that actually we do have a question asking how they found us, and it will say Facebook recommendation, it will say a friend, it will say my agent is in here. Sometimes it says nothing. I should say more often than not, it says nothing. So it's not really helping us figure out how we ended up in front of them. We are super active. Our Disney Friends and Family group gets our agency posts at least 3 times a day. It's typically more than that. And those are authentic posts from within that group, not shares in and out, because those authentic posts really help us boost everything. Same thing with the Genie group. We'll take anything authentic and it's just a copy and paste more than a share, because then it looks like a new Facebook post. So that helps build it in the algorithm as well. As I mentioned, we do like to share, but we actually have hidden groups that we share to just to boost those share numbers. So we have just an agency share group where we all have our personal business pages, our personal pages, our groups, and we just hit that share button as soon as it's posted, because that's going to help build you up in the algorithm as well. And then with over 50 of us now, with the majority, I would say probably over half of us specialize in Disney, we are as active as possible in that group. I would say I probably spend a good 4 or 5 hours just on an average day answering questions, clearing alerts. We have a specific funneling, what do I want to say, admin person who pulls all of the emails off of their entry questions. So that's not even approving people. That's literally just answering questions, replying to comments that may not be correct, pointing them in the right direction of things. But really, every single time we do that, we will share either our bio from our website, our favorite Grampy Travels website, or we will share the Genie class website. So that helps push that as well. So at the bottom of my comment where I've answered, I'm also putting the link for the class itself if it is something that's pertinent to the class.
So smart. Just
Yeah.
so it's not only smart, but it is, again, like really, it's not selling, it's being of service, which is selling. It's kind of like
Exactly.
not hiding the fact that you are in business to make money, make an income, but also being like, I can assist you and this is how I can do it.
Absolutely.
Thinking about wave season. Now I know we've kind of mentioned this was like an off-season type of tactic. I know for newbies or people who might not be as busy, this might be like a great way to start off wave season to like get some flurry of business. But for those that might be a little bit experienced, is wave season a time that you would run something like this, or would you wait towards like a different time of year?
I feel both ways on that.
Uh-huh.
So I love the idea of running it, but maybe only once or twice during the month if you are going to do a live showing, just because we all know that wave season is overwhelming. You
Yeah.
don't know how much time you're going to have to dedicate to this. And I would often find myself being like, oh, my kiddo has baseball game tonight, but I already scheduled this a month ago, and being a little bit discouraged by that because I do want to have that work family balance.
Mhm.
So with wave season, I would probably draw back just a little bit and not try to push it as like a weekly item, or not try to push it as I'm going to do 12 of these this month.
Mhm.
Keep it realistic with the timeline that you have. Now, if you are just starting out and you don't know what wave season can feel like, and maybe your wave is just a little one this year, push it full force. I mean, this is a way to get your name out there as an expert in your field, whatever that may be. And if you are going to go out and show this masterclass, you're going to look like one of the first to do it, because this is not necessarily a new idea, but not a whole lot of people are doing it. We haven't found anything like what we were doing in terms of the Genie aspect of things. We found module systems, we found textbooks of here's all my tips. And you wish that you would give them all of that information, they would read it, but they don't. So that's why the live really worked well for us. So if you can get your name out there as the first, Alaskan Cruise Masterclass, come join us. You could even use that in your favor for maybe a discount code. Now, price your product higher, bring the discount down to what you actually want to make.
Right.
But it gives you a few different sales tactics during that busy period, whether it be it's exclusive, there's only 3 seats left because you're only running one class that month. Totally fine. It gives them that call to action. It gives them that timeline that they need to hurry up and get it done. But it gives you the option to become the first one out there or the expert in this, and really set yourself up to be the name of all of it.
Exactly. And that's why I love hosting Prep for Wave Week in October, because it also gives you a little bit of a runway. So you have this idea, you're probably like flirting with like, oh, I could do a masterclass on this or this. Now is the time. Get your slides together, get your automations, email funnels, everything together. Maybe you can launch one as soon as December and like propel you, like do that like pre-wave season and get you started. So Kirsten, huge thank you so much for assisting us and like really guiding us. This was chock full of great nuggets. Is there a best way that people can connect with you, either for a follow-up, possibly even like a consult or anything for their own
Yeah.
businesses?
I know for a lot of us, messages get lost here and there. So I love email. I tell everybody my inbox is my to-do list. So Kirsten, which is K-I-R, I'm sure you'll put it in the notes and things, at favoritegrampytravels with an S.com is the easiest way. But we are on socials everywhere. Favorite Grampy Travels is on social. Favorite Grampy himself, which is a whole nother podcast. We can talk about that story. He's on Facebook. Our Genie Facebook group is a great place to start. Ours is the one with the little emoji at the beginning. We've also got Disney Friends and Family Tips and Tricks. And once you start putting up the Friends and Family Tips and Tricks Facebook groups, you'll find a ton of them. Now, my Facebook group is Always an Adventure Mom, and you can find me on Instagram and TikTok under that same handle as well.
Perfect. And I feel like for those people who may not want to handle any Disney, well, you know somebody in your back pocket now that really loves and is passionate and very well versed in Disney. So great referral partnership there. Before we jump off, I do have to say a huge thank you to our partners of Prep for Wave Week, our presenting partners, TA Toolkit and Travify, and our premier partners, Lucia, Fine Travel, and Inflow Design Co. Thank you so much for supporting this event. Kirsten, thank you so much again. And travel advisors, thank you also for tuning in. We will see you all on the next one.